All right, I'm going to get started. Welcome back, everyone, to the 2025 Virtual Wild Horse Summit. I'm pretty sure you know by now, but I'm going to reiterate just in case this is your first presentation. This summit is being put on by Chasing Horses Wild Horse Advocates and Chris Kaman at the head there, and Save Our Wild Horses with Heather Hellier. And I am moderating today. My name is Jen, and I'm with the Wild Narrative Project. So you are here today to listen and learn from Britta Hesla. And Britta is a licensed psychotherapist since 2007 and has been a licensed addiction therapist since 2006. She's been a certified family systems therapist since 2013, lots of training here, and she began her training in equine assisted psychotherapy in 2015. Her first therapy horse was an off-the-track thoroughbred, and it was love at first sight. It wasn't for several years later that she learned he was pulled off a slaughter truck as a 4-year-old. She says that her first client was a young girl who had suffered sexual abuse and exploitation, and talk therapy had been unsuccessful. So she went to Debut and Britta, and she opened up to Debut in the first hour. Britta, is that your horse?
Yes,
Yes.
he passed away, but yes, he was. Yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
Sorry.
Let's see, her experience as a certified neuropsychotherapist and trained equine assisted psychotherapist has given her extensive knowledge in the neurobiology of humans and horses. This knowledge has become a tool for her in congressional office meetings as she does her experience of the life, as she shows her life-saving experience and capability of wild horses. She's been integral in her own, horses have been integral in her own self-care for many years. She was introduced to the horse slaughter, kill buyer, and corruption of the Bureau of Land Management in 2016 and has been involved in lobbying and advocacy ever since. She became a congressional district captain for ASPCA in 2016 after being asked to join. And the lobbying training was a wonderful foundation on which she built. So she left ASPCA after they signed on to the adoption incentive plan. And she's been the legislative liaison for Advocates for Wild Equine's National Lobbying Coalition since its formation in 2021. She's been traveling to DC to lobby for the SAFE Act, wild horse protection legislation, and I learned how to say this. Britta, help me out. The
Ijao.
EJOW, thank you. It will stick with me this time. Thank you. The EJOW bill 4 to 7 times per year with the goal to increase that significantly in 2025. Okay, here's another real number. In 2024, she completed 74 meetings. The consistent message received in 2024 meetings was that advocates, organizations, companies, and et cetera, must unite and become a worthy adversary of the agricultural industry. And she was told that this is the only way to succeed going forward. That's why Horse Plus Humane Society, the largest equine welfare organization in the world, has created the Horse Plus Legislative Coalition, a 501c4. Britta will be the legislative liaison for this 501c4 and has been charged with rallying the equine advocacy world and is asking for partnership and collaboration. So that is why, yeah, I know someone says, whoo, she's awesome. Excellent. Great job. So Britta, I am going to stop sharing my screen, which means you will be able to share your screen and you can get started. Welcome, Britta. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. And I've listened to some of the presentations this week, and they're absolutely phenomenal. Everyone is amazing, and I've learned so much. And I've been taking notes and screenshots and all kinds of things. So I'm really excited to bring some of the things that I've learned so far. And you guys, this is quite the summit, and I'm really looking forward to what's in the future with whatever you bring. So I'm going to go about things a little bit differently tonight, because I know that everyone is fatigued. We're all fatigued, and it's been hard. The Safe Act, we ended the term in December with 234 co-sponsors, which is plenty to pass the House floor. And every term, for many terms, we've had enough co-sponsors to pass the House floor. And so it's not for failure to try. It's essentially others that are standing in our way. And so I want to first sort of bring to everyone's attention, and there's some familiar faces on here that I've been around the advocacy world for a while with, so it's nice to see all of you. And several of you have pictures in here, so hope you don't mind. Anyway, I wanted to just tell everyone that we have been successful. Advocates joined together have been successful. So unity does not go without notice. And I just want to sort of give you guys a little bit of information about that. And there are others as well, but I specifically five that I want to talk about a little bit. Jacob Thompson is a kill buyer, and he still is, but he's been kicked out of state after state. He's still functioning, but under his girlfriend's name and business title. Jacob Thompson was a pretty successful, with lots of momentum, kill buyer in Louisiana in, I guess, the 2000s. And a group of advocates decided that they were going to do something about the racehorses that were flooding into Thompson's kill pen. And I don't see any of the names on here tonight, and I won't mention them because it was a lot of this was a confidential process, but it took us about 2 years. But advocates from all over the country, rescues and fundraisers, particularly a fundraiser that was able to save just in that year, more than 70 racehorses, got heavily involved in acquiring data and created an Excel spreadsheet. Rescues that took the horses in, then provided backup data, things like were there Coggins, were there not, were there health certs, were there not. And as advocates united to do this, it ended up in Jacob Thompson having a federal raid. And what you see below, and I said Unity did this, and it did. This is all advocates. None of us, nobody here was special with special qualifications. It was people rescuing horses and rescues getting those horses that did all this. Below in the corner, you'll see to the top right-hand corner, this was a letter done to the Office of Animal Health regarding Jacob Thompson, Gary Thompson, Terry Sanders, and Thompson Horse Lot and JT Livestock. It was copied to the Louisiana Racing Commission, Board of Animal Health, Thoroughbred Racing Association, Jockey Club, and a number of others. The CC is very long. To the bottom left-hand corner, you see a number of evidence articles and photos and things submitted. This went not just to everybody on that copy, but it also went to a court. It went to a district attorney that was prosecuting him. This court report we put together, I think was, I don't know, 10 pages or so long. It had their full criminal records that we made sure that we got, and everything that anyone had that was willing to participate. And so this became really a tool for us. And because of all the advocates that got involved and the rescues that got involved and everybody's courage, Thompson was shut down. He was federally raided. He was shut down in Louisiana and essentially booted out of Louisiana. After that, we found out quickly that he had bought land in Texas, and all of the documents, including this court report, as well as the letter to Offices of Animal Health, went to the mayor, law enforcement, and before he even had his U-Haul packed up, the government in Texas, in that town, Trout, Texas, I do believe that was, knew that he was coming, and he didn't last long there either. And so that's what advocates can do. this slide, and I think most people know who Deborah Jane is. Um, she had been around for a really long time. Advocates really never gave up on busting her. It was one state after another: Tennessee, Florida, Arkansas, and she just went from place to place. When she finally got busted for, I think everyone, for the most part, knows all of her charges, advocates from all over this country called the district attorney, emailed the district attorney, reached out to law enforcement with their own evidence, their own experiences with her. She got busted in a small town, and I don't know that she would have gotten 9 years in prison if it wasn't for all of the advocates. Again, no, we didn't hire attorneys, we didn't have anybody special. It was just advocates stepping up and unifying and saying, no, no more of this. And we, just flooded the phones. And so she's going to be in prison. I don't know if she'll live to be old enough to get out, or not, but she is serving 9 years. And so again, advocates did that. Most recently, last year, I think everyone knows this, advocates from all over the country asked New York to lead the United States in passing legislation. And they did. They absolutely did. Advocates for Wild Equine ran a survey to counter the Farm Bureau, which had sent a letter out to the governor and saying that horse slaughter was needed for all of these reasons. And so the Farm Bureau had pretty well put together a letter, and Advocates for Wild Equine, we put together a survey and surveyed rescues and organizations all over New York. And that data was a direct counter when it came back, and it was anonymous data. So no one had to feel concerned about their input. And we submitted those survey results to the governor's office. Calls went out to advocates everywhere to encourage the governor's office to pass the New York State bill, and it has passed. It went into effect last spring, and it's the strongest anti-slaughter bill ever proposed and certainly ever passed. And we are asking, and we did ask Buchanan's office last week in our meeting to review this bill, and we would like that language to be tight like this. And so again, advocates did that. So again, another example of this, the U.S. Trotting Association had never written a letter until 2 years ago. They had never written a letter supporting the SAFE Act. And with the pressure of all of the advocates, the standardbred advocates, the people stepping up, talking about the standardbreds in the kill pen, we finally were able to get a letter from the U.S. Trotting Association 2 terms ago, and they continue to support passing the SAFE Act. And so we get to actually hand out this letter in congressional meetings. Again, all advocate driven. This is everyone here that steps up and does this.
Hey, Britta.
Yeah, go
Sorry,
ahead.
I'm interjecting here. Just got a couple of asks to see if we might be able to see the screen a little bit bigger. I'm
Oh, sure.
wondering if you head up to slideshow,
Yes. Okay.
if that might. So yep.
Okay. Ooh.
Let's just see. We got patience. We'll
Woo.
just see. Let's see.
All right.
All right.
Is that
Yeah, that's
better?
awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys.
All right.
Thank
No,
you.
please continue. Thanks for letting me interrupt.
Right. Okay. Let's see now if I can get. Whoa. All right. Well. All right. Let's see if I can.
Is it working for you?
It's doing something funky. Hold on a second.
Take your time.
So I don't know if it's going to show. Hold on 1 second.
We can see the screen that I think we're supposed to be seeing.
Yes.
Just so you know.
Okay. Let's see if I can. It's doing. Oh, okay. Let's see if this works. Okay, there we go. All right.
That's cool.
So,
all right, thank you.
Yeah. All right, why unify at all costs? Here's who we're up against: Western Justice, Department of Ag, the Farm Bureau, and the pork industry, the American Quarter Horse Association, the Sheep Growers Association, the National Cattle and Beef Association, and of course the U.S. Department of Ag and Bureau of Land Management. Western Justice, I don't know how many people know about Western Justice. Western Justice is founded by Dave Duquette. And so anyone that's been around for a long time knows Dave Duquette he has been a pretty aggressive, if not violent, adversary. He at one point had threatened to ruin my career. He was going to call the board and tell them all the things that I did. And I said, I'm pretty sure my state boards would love the fact that I'm an advocate since I'm a social worker. Feel free to do that. But he's a bully. He's pro-slaughter, and he was pretty active on the Hill, very quietly, but active on the Hill with the National Tribal Horse Coalition last term and getting the SAFE Act blocked. He's dangerous. And he has now formed a 501c4, and it's called Western Justice. And they do have lobbyists, and they are fundraising, and they do have a presence. And so again, he has united people like the National Rodeo Association, the Bucking Association, barrel racing. And so when we talk about organizations that are successful in getting legislation passed or not passed, it's organizations like this, and like the National Cattle and Beef Association, and like the Farm Bureau, so on and so forth. And so Dave Duquette is stealthy. He's not going to be out there and loud. You can join Western Justice and get email updates. And he's very clear about his intentions in his email updates. AQHA is the only breeding association that I'm aware of, and I don't know if anybody else knows of any. But AQHA is outwardly pro-slaughter, and they will submit letters to Congress, and they aren't bashful about stating their pro-slaughter opinion. And so again, you have AQHA with, tens of thousands of members. The Farm Bureaus are in every state. And so I think one of the things that I think an ambitious goal would be to everybody and every advocate in every state talk to their state-run farm bureaus, because just because the National Farm Bureau Association is on the Hill pro-slaughter advocating doesn't mean that you can't maybe turn your state farm bureau. And so that's one of the things that we can do. So if we don't unite, we're looking at all of these folks who are really successfully uniting folks underneath them. And so this is what we have to be concerned about. How it all began. Again, all of the advocates that I know around this area came back to having conversations around, well, what if we did this? What if we put together a coalition? What if we started to lobby? What if we started to research a lobbying firm that we may be able to afford or fundraise? And it just started, just like every advocate who fundraises for a kill pen horse, or every advocate that thinks about a rescue, start with a small group of people saying, what if we did this? Again, not just advocates. They constructed a core team and built on their own strengths. And this is Advocates for Wild Equine. And I can tell you, every core team member is brilliant and have strengths that really grew Advocates for Wild Equine. It came to be known as a grassroots-based lobbying coalition, and that's who we are still today. The president is Lorna, founder. And really, the goals that were established were about collaboration, invitation, and essentially growing to be participatory across the board. Right out of the gate, there were organizations that trusted to come on board with us to see how it went. Cloud Foundation and joined in on letters. Western Watershed joined in on congressional letters with us. Sierra Club. So we really took some risks and reached out. And at one time, I think we had maybe, gosh, it was more than 8 large organizations on our legislative letters. And I think that that's been our largest asset. And I think that we have really done a tremendous job with sticking with our values and inviting people in. And it's wonderful to build trust and relationships.
Hey, Britta.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's Jen again. I'm interrupting again.
No,
This
it's fine.
is such an important slide because it communicates, I think, that solution and that avenue that other people can see and consider how they can contribute to what you're doing and how they can use your model to build on their aspects of the issue. Can you do me a favor? I think some of us are seeing a little black box on the right that says, welcome,
Oh, yeah.
welcome to
Better.
PowerPoint. Can
Um,
see if you can get rid of that because it's blocking some really important language.
Okay, let's see here. Let me go back. Hmm,
Do you see it?
I
On,
see it says something like welcome. Is that it?
yep,
Yeah,
yep.
I'm just now seeing that. I don't know why. Okay. Not
Yes.
better.
Okay. That's out of the way enough. Thank you so much because this is great and I don't want anybody to miss it and I don't want anybody to miss it when they come and watch it back. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm
thank
out
you.
again. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, a core value, really going back to our core value, set an invitation and collaboration and unity. And we set out to really create that culture. In 2023, we invited Horse Plus Humane Society to lobby on Capitol Hill. And that was a huge turning point. I had seen, and I don't know if other people saw this, it was a really, all their, the auction videos that they post, are difficult to watch sometimes. But they had posted one video in particular of a stallion at a Tennessee auction that was gelded with a hunting knife in the middle of the auction floor, and his intestines were dragging on the ground. And they showed this video, and they had to beg to buy this back from a kill buyer, which they did. And their vets on site, of course, knew right away that this horse needed to pass peacefully with grace, and so they did that. But when I saw that video, I thought I want to see if they'll come to DC, which they did. Immediately, we had a great energy together in meetings, and they got very passionate about lobbying, and we grew that relationship. Let's see. So, all right. So here's essentially what came of 2024. 74 meetings in total, focusing on the Ag Committee for the SAFE Act. I think I met with every Ag committee member's office with the exception of 10 or 11. And some of those were Democrats that were strong advocates of the SAFE Act, and we sent out a thank you but didn't need to meet. And others were Republican offices that just refused to meet after numerous requests. Consistent feedback from the congressional offices. They were pretty assertive about this. The ag industry is really united. They're well aware of the division or the divisiveness among advocates in the horse world because they get phone calls about these things. And the SAFE Act was one of those last term. It ended up being pretty divisive, and we lost a couple co-sponsors because of it. And so they said, you guys are going to have to get bigger. You're going to have to get more powerful. You're really going to have to unite. The final message was disturbing for me, and I think Gail is on this call, and she was there as well. And we had a meeting with the Senate Office of Nutrition, Forestry, and Ag. And that is the office that holds the ag committees, subcommittee, full committee, and they're the ones that decide what bills go into committee. And their general counsel showed up, which never happens. First time in all these years I've ever seen general counsel show up to a meeting. Well, she wasn't invited, so we're not sure what the premise was for that, but she was there. She was pretty hostile towards horses, and she stated in the presence of 3 others with me that the SAFE Act will never pass in ag because they need a way to manage the wild horses. And at that moment, a couple things happened. One was, we've been suspecting this for years, and no one's ever said it. No one's ever bothered to say, the truth of the matter is that we're going to continue to allow horses to ship to slaughter because we want to eradicate the wild horses. Her statement went on to say, wild horses are nothing but invasive pests, overpopulated and destructive. And for me, that was all I really needed. Of course, in meetings, most of the time, I mean, they're pleasant, and we can get through it. We can engage. This one, I went silent, and our lobbyist who was present with us kind of knew he needed to take over for me, because what was going to come out of my mouth wouldn't have been appropriate at the time. But since then, she's been sent lots of nice press releases about the value of horses, and particularly the horses and mules that save lives in the mountains of North Carolina, where I live, or I live in North Carolina. And so that fueled some fire for me. And now that we know the truth, and it's been said by general counsel, lead attorney for however many years in ag, I think 19 years or something, she's been there, long time. And it just makes me, feel like we're going to fight even harder. So after that, we took a couple months to, it was getting to the end of all things for the term. We all went, to our resting places. And I got a call from Tawny with Horse Plus Humane Society, and she said, hey, here's what I want to do. Will you come on board? And I was like, that, absolutely. So we formed Horse Plus Legislative Coalition. Horse Plus, the 501c3, Horse Plus Humane Society, has been around for 22 years. They're the largest equine welfare organization in the world. They started off essentially when they were kids, just rescuing horses from the pipeline, and grew it into a very successful 501c3 that now provides grants to rescues all over the country, helps to train and manage rescues and give guidance and direction. And now they are building a program, vocational program for Native Americans to create careers and growth opportunities for them, so that they will not send their horses to slaughter. And that has been a studied program now for I think almost a year, and it's going really well. So that's where we are. Advocates for Wild Equine has been instrumental in bringing that along to where we are, and we have a big year planned. The 5 whys, or the 5 whys, the 5 W's, who we are. The board consists of a president, which is Tawny, vice president, which is me, treasurer, which is a 501c3 accountant, a secretary, a lead of Native American advocacy, a lead of wild horse legislation, and a lead of research. We are equine advocates in this on the board with more than 60 years of experience. For the most of the folks on board are experienced lobbyists and or advocates. We're really dedicated to training, preparing, and arming every advocate in this country to take their fight to the legislators. What we're established 501(c)(4, and we are lobbying coalition for all equine welfare legislation. So that includes the EJOW bill, that includes the PAST Act, that includes wild horse protection bills, that includes any of the big fans of the grazing legislation. They're headquartered in Tennessee and registered in Tennessee. And there are the documents. And so we were formed or registered on October 31st. And there's the tax ID number. And there's the official IRS letter. The 5 W's, and finally, why? Because Congress told us we have to, or we will lose to the ag industry every time. Because we lost 22,300 horses to Mexico this year, an increase of 4,303. Because the number of horses shipped to slaughter in Canada was up 19% as of the third quarter report, first increase in years. Because if all of us don't do something now, the reality is that the things are going to get much worse. So just a couple of my whys here. This is the first year I got involved, top left, 2016. This is a thoroughbred off the track, Secretariat bloodline, which we know many Secretariats bloodline end up in kill pens. This was the last night he was with us. He had come with not even a body score of 2. You can't see the IVs he's connected to, but he's hooked up to IVs. This was a very cold winter. This was New Year's Day night. And he just couldn't, his organs were failing. He couldn't make it. To the right is me and my Mustang. This is Mirage. He is off of Nevada, the Del Mar mountain range. He was rounded up in 2020 in December. He was held in the Idaho holding facility, adopted sometime after that, and then that person flipped him to Kansas Kill Pen. And he is absolutely a joy, a gift to me in my life, 100%. So I will fight for him. This is Sassy, bottom left. She is a medicine hat paint. I got her from Tar Heel Feedlot. And she is just a fun, smart girl. To the bottom right, this is Artemis. This is also one of the only pictures we got to take of her. She's from Gary Luck's kill pen, not far from me. She was rejected along with a trailer load from the Canadian border. He works with Bruce Rotz, and a truckload was rejected at the Canadian border. Gary brought her back to North Carolina. She was beaten up pretty badly, maggots coming out of her and things, internally bleeding. I got a call and a photo of her saying he was going to just let her starve in the back of his barn. So I called him and I said, "What do you want for her?" And I got her. Vet came out and said, really, it's between her and God now. And there's really nothing we could do. She got cleaned up and she had a nice warm bed, and she didn't make it. I named her Artemis at the time, not really knowing what was ahead for me, but I promised she would go over the Rainbow Bridge with a warrior name. And Artemis is the god of the protection of the wild. And so those are my whys. This is just a couple pictures of our time in DC, of our times in DC. Top left is me This is Congresswoman Alma Adams from North Carolina, Tawny and her husband Jason. To the right is Gail Bumstead with Advocates for Wild Equine, and myself in our lobbying firm office. To the next photo over is with Congressman David Rouser in the middle, Tawny and Jason to the left, and then me, and then Deborah West to the right. And then bottom left is an advisor to another congressperson. We're in the congressperson's office after a meeting. They'll let you do selfies with, or selfies, they'll let you do pictures in the rooms with them, not during meetings. So if you go to DC, you can't take pictures or videos, no videos, absolutely. And this is Diane, and she came to lobby with her legislators, James McGovern being one of them. And that was a full day. And then to the right, you'll see all these cards laying out here. This is Diane Smith's work. And again, she can't come to DC, but she puts up tables and she gets signatures, and you can't see on these cards, but every single one of these cards is packed full with signatures, front and back, most of them. And she sends them to me. As a matter of fact, I think she's texted me and said more were coming from my first meeting on the Hill. And she did this several times, and we just go office to office to office and deliver these cards. And that can be even better than a meeting sometimes. So these were wonderful. We got cards out, thanks to Diane. A card went out to every member of Natural Resources Committee, every single member, for the Wild Horse Protection Act. Dina Titus sponsors, and hope we see her sponsor that again, and every member of AG. And so thanks to her hard work, that got out there. So that was wonderful. So please join us. What's next? We want to invite all advocates, organizations, rescues, sanctuaries, companies, equine practitioners of any kind, advocates of horses, wolves, wildlife, wild places, et cetera, et cetera. We want to make this expansive and creative and all-encompassing, and just try to get everyone together. The website that's up, and it's still being worked on, but you can go there. And if you go to the website, www.horsepluscoalition.com, all you have to do, the subscribe button will drop down, and all you have to do is click on it. There's nothing you have to do other than that, and you just put in your email address, and that's it. You're a member. My email, Britta at horseplus.org. You can email me anytime. We are going down the criminal route this time. This is new. This has never been done. So this is super important, very, very, very important. We really need people's stories of interactions with kill pens or kill buyers that fall under anything that sound like or feel like coercion, intimidation, bribery, interstate fraud, or communicating threats. We got folks that in meetings that responded to the criminal aspect of things, people that were, may not be completely opposed to slaughter, but they sure are opposed to violence and the safety of their constituents. It's so important that we get these. Your information will be anonymous. Your names are not needed. Your addresses are not needed. Initials in a state would be great. We have some that have come in. There's and I forgot to put the number here, but there's a number that you can call or message, and the information comes through and I see it, but there's no name associated with it. So I get the story, but I don't have your personal identifying information on it. We need these stories badly. I will personally be writing my story on Gary Luck. I'll be writing my story on Jacob Thompson. I'll be writing my story on Michael Gibson. I'll be writing my story on Deborah Jane. So it's so important we get those. Their confidentiality will be protected. There's no reason. I did have one person that said, I want my name to be used. I'm fine with it. So please, please, please. We really need to go to DC in March with a bag full of stories. The next thing you can do, look up your legislators at house.gov or congress.gov, and enter your address in congress.gov, and house.gov, you can enter your zip code or your address. Your members, you're under house.gov, your congressperson will pop up. Under congress.gov, your senator and congressman. So all of them will pop up on the same page. And those are the people you'll want to meet with. Call, email, write letters to, that kind of thing. Horse Plus can schedule meetings for you, prep you for your meetings, attend the meetings with you if you prefer, or not, totally up to you. Provide you with talking points and documents if you would like to share with them, or we can share them ahead for you if you would like. If you would like to come to DC, we can schedule meetings on the Hill for you. Please feel free to come to DC, and we will, if that's something you'd like to do, we can work around your schedule, and I can plan on meeting you and or another lobbying person with Horse Plus. If you'd like us to train your rescues or organization's peers to lobby, we can schedule a group training session. Our vision, and Tawny is really emphasizing this, is to create a country of thousands of lobbying advocates so that we flood the halls just like ag floods the halls. We were there for Heather and Linda's conference, the Wild Horse conference, year before last, I can't keep track of the years. And literally there were, I think, 2 busloads of ag folks lobbying on the Hill. And we all, mind our P's and Q's, but it was really interesting to be in the same halls with them. But they showed up in busloads, and we're showing up in not busloads. So it would be great if we could do that. What's next for us? We had our first legislative meeting with Vern Buchanan's office. They are already strongly dedicated to introducing the SAFE Act in February. So the SAFE Act will be introduced. They feel like introducing it into the Ag Committee again is the best chance. That doesn't mean that we don't still pursue the criminal aspect of things. I think that's our best chance in ag. Toxic meat, they don't care. They really don't. And we've been so much as told that. They don't care about the transportation. I think the criminal aspect will probably be our best bet of swaying anybody in ag. They're open to considering a couple other things, and we proposed a couple other things. But as of right now, SAFE should be introduced mid-February, and we were told that we should start lobbying in DC in March. So that is coming quickly. There are also a couple other people, other leaders on bills that we want to reach out to see if they plan on reintroducing or not. We're also working on language for a wild horse protection bill. And we're super excited about that because it includes really brilliant people that have taken beautiful risks and made them very successful, like Jatara, who has really proven through her work that the ecosystem can thrive. And so we want to do that. as well as the Rome Act, want to pull that in. So we want to create language that includes the brilliance of so many experts that have made it so successful, because what we have to come with evidence, and these are the people with the evidence. So that's what we want to do. Again, we'll begin lobbying in DC in March, and we hope that we can bring everybody there. And that's it.
Britta, thank you so much. This has been eye-opening, and I'm actually still gathering myself from tears. Personal stories are so powerful, and it's always hard. And I know that there are so many advocates that have experienced and seen firsthand the cruelty and what these horses have been through. Thank you for your work. Just quickly, I personally I'm having trouble with the Secretariat descendants, and I think it's so cruel. So my family happens to be from Kentucky. I grew up around horse racing and absolutely abhor it now. But I think it's so cruel that Secretariat is so revered, and that at the same time, hypocritically, his descendants are bred and bred and bred and end up in kill pens.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't think of too many things that are more ironic. Thank you for sharing and taking care to give those horses peace in their last moments. Whew, yes, and I've got somebody else saying, yep, tears too. Thank you. I'm glad that I'm not alone. Okay, so we have a lot of questions. Do you mind if I get to asking them? I really would
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, jump in.
Great, thank you. Okay, so Linda is curious, can you explain a PAC or PAC and the pros and cons? She says it came up during her presentation too.
Yeah, we looked into that, and with yeah, this community, a PAC wouldn't serve us well, because a PAC will not take individual private donations. PAC receives donations from organizations, companies, groups, industries, things like that. And so a PAC wouldn't fit us well, because we can't have individuals contribute. And so the 501(c)(4) just made more sense in that way. So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. And then let's see. Tammy wants to know, do you want information of cruelty during wild horse and burro roundups and at the holding facilities?
Yeah, absolutely. Anything at this point, because we know that the ag industry is their target is wild horses primarily. So yes, that'd be great.
Okay, and so then to that tune, Linda is curious, and I think I understood this, but let's just make sure that we've got it. Who are the real blockers of the SAFE Act?
Um, National Cattle and Beef Association, the Farm Bureau, um, the um, the Pork Growers Association, the Sheep Growers Association, the Processing Plants Organization, um, gosh, AQHA, the the National Tribal Horse Coalition. And I'm going to put a little disclaimer on that, because there are so many Native Americans that are not on board with slaughter. And that coalition is made up of the suspects that you would think it would be made up of: the Yakima, the Navajo are represented in that. The Shoshone are represented in that. So you're talking about the leaders of that coalition are the tribes that with frequency and abundance send their horses to slaughter. So it's not everybody, it's just a handful. But so those are just some. I can't think of all of them. But the National Rodeo Association has started to get a little bit more um engaged in the pro slaughter industry, so we want to watch that. I imagine that Dave Duquette has something to do with bringing in other people as well. And
Mhm.
again, Western Justice, as I said, there, Dave now with his 501(c)(4 is going to be a pretty strong adversary.
Hey, can I just intercept for a minute, Britta?
Mhm.
Um, the the PAC question has come up quite a bit, and it's something that Holly Bice talked about. I just pulled up the FEC.gov website, and individuals can contribute to a PAC.
Oh, they can. Okay, we were
Yes.
told that we could not do that.
I know there's a lot of rules, and Holly said we would have to look at that if it was something we were interested in, but individuals can. I just want to clear up that
Oh,
clarification.
great. Well, that may be something we have to think about in the future. Yeah,
Good
yeah.
to know.
Yeah.
We have several people asking for your Facebook page. Can you pop a link perhaps into the chat to
I
send
can do
people
that.
to your Facebook page? I think we have a lot of Facebook users, and that would be a great resource. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then Deborah says, great progress. Agree. And she asks, are you the primary lobbyist for the Horse Plus? Or are you working with another lobbyist in DC? And then she says, if so, can you share that information and who else is part of the coalition?
Um, so I will probably be the one lobbying the most. Tawny will be in DC when she can be in DC. Same with Jason. And we are also hoping that we can get some wild horse folks from that area who can go frequently. And so that's where we are. So we want to grow that so that literally anybody that is prepared to do so can go to DC and with or without us and lobby. So this is our launching pad.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well done. Linda asks, where can we get undercover videos of what really goes on in the slaughter pipeline and the final destination?
Animalsangels.org has videos. They also have, gosh, I think over 400 or more reports on their site. They recently videoed Bruce Rott's uh, taking truckloads of horses across the New York borders, which is now against the law, obviously. And so their undercover investigators followed his trucks. And so now we have evidence of him breaking the law that way. So that's working on that.
And can you repeat that organization or group that has videos and evidence?
Yeah, animalsangels.org.
Got it. Thank you. Deborah put it in there. Appreciate that. Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad that we're all here to be together and discuss the tough topics.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Am I missing any questions? Gail says, would you please let folks know you can also lobby your Congress members in their local offices if you can't get to DC?
Yeah. Well put, Gail. Exactly that. Yes, you can go to your local offices. The local offices receive their members on a fairly scheduled basis. August of every year, all the members go home for the whole month. And so the best time to predictably schedule local meetings is August. I can put, and I didn't put it in here, and I'm trying to, I know there are a couple links I need to post in here. I may need, I don't know if I can just send it to you guys and you can send it out to participants. But one of the things that you can look up is the congressional calendar for 2025. The congressional, it's public information. If you just Google congressional calendar for 2025, you should get the months, and they will be color coded. So Senate will have a color code, House will have a color code, and it will show when they're in DC and when they're not. And so you can schedule around the calendar, the congressional calendar for the year. And just know that August is always a great time to do that because they shut down. And then later into the winter months, they're only in DC for about 2 weeks out of November and December for the most part. So anytime during the winter months is also good. Right now, they're all in DC. They all have to be in DC. There's too much going on. So right now, most of the lobbying will be here. Virtual meetings are easy to set up. We can set up meetings. They usually use platforms. If we set them up ourselves, it can be a Zoom platform, but really they use Google Teams is what they prefer to use. So if you want to download the Google Teams, the Microsoft Teams app. And that is something that if you want to prepare yourself and just sort of practice using Teams, that is their platform that they use for all the meetings. All of the meetings last usually around 20 to 30 minutes. 30 minutes is the cap usually, and they'll cut you off at 30 minutes, but so you want to try to craft your talking points to end at 30. Occasionally, if they have lots of questions and we really get buy-in, we've had meetings go 45 minutes, and that was fantastic. But that's kind of few and far between. So it won't take too much of your day. The prepping is usually the thing that not usually, is the thing that will take you the most time. But once you have that down, you just kind of have it down, and you just the same message, just repeat the same message, and you can do it. Remember, they're not the experts, you are. They don't know nearly as much as you know. There is nothing that you're going to tell them that they know more than you about, probably. So I remember I didn't sleep the first time I ever lobbied, I think in 2016. I didn't sleep all night. I was terrified. I felt sick. And literally after the first meeting, I thought, oh, well, they don't know anything. So you guys are the experts. You're the asset. So just remember that part.
That is really important information. You know, we've had several presentations really helpful about different angles of navigating legislation, talking with your legislators. And I think you just saying, remember, you're the asset and you're the one with the information is a really nice way to circle back to that and remind everyone how they can participate. So that's great. Let's see. I did see a question. Do you know how many SAFE Act legislators still remain after this past election? Was there a lot of change out?
That's a good question. We did lose a couple. Elisa Slotkin, we lost her. She did not win her election. And she was a great advocate in the Midwest. I can't remember if she's Michigan. She was one of those really critical states. I will tell folks, if anybody here is from Pennsylvania, Ohio, New York is still important, but now they have the law. But Ohio, Pennsylvania, Michigan, those 3 states are the 3 top states that are documented on Canadian documents for shipping horses to Canada. Pennsylvania is well in the lead of sending the most horses across the Canadian border. They can't cross in New York anymore. Doesn't mean, and most of these horses are Bruce Rots, So if anyone here has information about Bruce Rotz, we're all gathering data about him right now. Again, it's confidential, but he needs to be shut down. So Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan, we need to focus on. The states, the border states that we really need to focus on, and this is something that Sonia and I, Sonia with Animals Angels, and I have talked about focusing on, is the border states where the horses are crossing. Texas sends more horses to slaughter than every state in the country combined. Texas is, which is weird because they also have a lot of co-sponsors on the SAFE Act. So if you're from Texas, please reach out to us. I think we even need to make a trip to Texas and just hit all the offices, but Texas is sending horses at a pretty rapid clip. Most of those, by the way, come from Bowie. Sonia and I have talked about that. Her investigations show that Bowie is the top shipper to Mexico. If anyone has any information about Bowie, we need that as well. So we want to focus on New Mexico, which, by the way, are they're not too many horses are traveling through New Mexico now. But Arizona, Texas, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, yeah, and the horses are crossing into Quebec and to Ontario. So those are the two places in Canada where they're crossing in. So again, if anyone, these are strategic targets. So we need folks in all of these areas.
Thank you. That is really stellar information. And I can see several people in chat. Their wheels are turning. It's Sunday night. We've got some advocates that are really thinking strategically. I thank you so much on behalf of everyone here. This has been incredible. Let's see. So wait, just want to make sure I've gotten all of the big questions here. Right, so they can't, let's see, Linda says, so if they can't cross through New York from Pennsylvania, how?
That's a good question. I'm not sure where they're going to have to drive around. They can still cross through Michigan. If they're not driving through New York, I'm not really sure which. There is a crossing in Maine. So I'm not really sure where it's an awful lot of fuel that they have to spend to get to areas if they can't cross through New York. There are two crossing areas, or were two crossing areas in New York, Lewiston and Queenston. And those were the two crossing areas in New York. So it's a good question. Think more.
Do you happen to have a map anywhere, or is that something that's an easy lift to share a map with some key points where horses are being shipped?
Yeah. Let's see, as a matter of fact.
I think that could be a really helpful visual and might also be a great reminder of those states where people need to really be speaking with their legislators.
Yeah, and I can, let's see, give you locations. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so it is the website, if anybody wants it, is inspection.canada. Let's see. Yeah. Inspection.canada. Let's see, what is it? Org maybe, and it is The places where they cross are Eastport, Idaho, Sweetgrass, Montana, Port Huron, Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, Lewiston, New York, Champlain, New York, sorry, and Houghton, Maine. And they cross into New Brunswick out of Maine, Quebec out of New York, Ontario out of New York, Queenston, Ontario out of Michigan, and Windsor and Sarnia, Point Edward, and out of Montana, it's Alberta, and out of Idaho, it's British Columbia.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, let's see, I'm going to take one more question. And I think this is an interesting question, and perhaps you have some insight on this. Do you know why the Amish don't get persecuted for animal humane violations? She says, I've never heard a concrete answer.
Yeah, I think that is a really good question. We have tried to pursue that, and it sounds like to me there's a lot of fear. I mean, they've gotten prosecuted for their puppy mills, but we get a lot of pushback, almost fear of going, pursuing them for that. And I think that's mostly a fear of maybe being called, saying that we're discriminating or that we are profiling and all of those kinds of things. They also bring a lot, I suspect financially, there is some industry support of the Amish. I don't think it's impossible. It is hard to get in there though. And so there are rescues that have had attempted to build relationships with them and can get in. But it's really, really hard to penetrate their community to see what's going on. The best that can be done, which I think Animals Angels has done well, and that you hear other people talk about. If you go to New Holland auction, I mean, they're right out there. I've even heard of Amish driving the horse driving them in the buggy and them dropping the horse off at the auction or selling them to a kill buyer in the parking lot. Or so if you go to New Holland auction or Center Hill in New Jersey, it's not hard to see. So we just have to find a way to get in there and law enforcement to stand up and do something, essentially.
Understood. And yes, that sounds tricky for multiple reasons. Okay, thank you so much. I think we will wrap it here. We really appreciate you being with us. If you are in DC or the Carolinas, it is late there, and I know that it's late for a lot of advocates. So thanks everyone for hanging in and being on this presentation on a Sunday evening. Britta, thank you so much for your expertise and sharing so much about what you have grown and what you all are just getting started. And I think there are a lot of people that are going to be on board to, how did you put it? To unite. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for being here. I look forward to seeing you.
So many people thanking you in the chat. I hope you can see that. Thank you. Great information, expert knowledge. Terrible yet such important information. Thank you. Absolutely. All right. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you so much, everyone. You
Thanks,
too.
everyone.
Bye.